Hey, Jeff Muller here for Lehigh Valley Sports. Um, it is a Wednesday morning. I got to get myself together here on a Wednesday morning, but glad you could join us. And again, a couple of topics today. Football is starting to heat up a little bit here in the Lehigh Valley. We're in that lull between the end of the spring sports. You got summer basketball even coming winding down. That's winding down. Summer basketball is winding down, and you got football coming up soon and the fall sports coming up soon. Just a couple of things to touch upon today. Phillies last night, Alan Rangel. Everybody was worried about what kind of start Alan Rangel would have. He had a pretty good start. He came in after Tim Meza. Okay. 5 innings for Rangel, 5 hits, 1 run, 4 hits. He had 4 strikeouts. Let me get that again. He had 5 innings, 5 hits, 1 run, 4 strikeouts. Okay. So again, a pretty good outing. He looked pretty good. He had the rough start. He gave up the home run ball early, which hurt him, and they got the Phillies behind. But I think Rangel, let's give him a couple of more starts. Let's see what he does. I think Andrew Painter is still very high on the Phillies' radar. They want to try to get him back as soon as possible. I don't think the Phillies are going to give up on Painter. They're going to see what he does at Lehigh Valley probably through mid-August and see what happens. Keep an eye on Gage Wood to see if he jumps up to Lehigh Valley from Reading. But last night, again, Phillies offense with Bryce Harper hitting for the site, Kyle Schwarber hitting all kind of home runs over the weekend. He's up to 29, and the Phillies offense really took apart the Mets pitching on Saturday and Sunday. So, Phillies off night. I think they'll be back. They got 4 games. They got 3 games left out of this 4-game night game set in Washington. If they come out with a split, I think that's where they want to be the rest of the season for the Phillies. If they have the win 2 out of 3, if they have the 4-game sets, you want to split. That will get them, if they keep on that stretch, that would get them probably in the 85 to 90 wins category as far as the season goes. And again, like an off night hitting, that's going to happen. One guy you get to keep an eye on, I just did this stat this morning, is Brandon Marsh. On June the 7th, Brandon Marsh was hitting 338. Okay. Right now, since that, he is hitting 196. He's 10 for 51. It's tailed off. He's down to 310. You got to keep an eye on that. I mean, if Marsh hits above 300, that's the guy. He was in the running for the overall hitting leader in baseball. Definitely has tailed off since then. But if he can hover around that 300 mark, he's gonna really help this ball club. As far as, again, the Phillies, the trade rumors you hear about Buxton from the Twins, maybe Walker from the Astros. You got to see what happens with that. You have to make some kind of move here. Justin Crawford's up to 243, and you say, hey, he's hitting 243. Should I get excited about that? Yeah, because he was struggling the whole season. He was hitting a lot lower than that. But I think that what the Phillies have done, and I've written about this, keep him in the lineup as much as possible. If there's a mismatch with a left-hander, or if he's in a slump, pull him out for a couple of games, but keep him in that lineup. Let's see what he can do. He was the other guy, along with Painter, who the Phillies were so high on coming into the season. Let's keep him there, and let's see what he can do, okay? A couple of other items to touch upon today. Local football. Like I said, local football and covering the Catasauqua, Northampton, and Whitehall circuit. Catty, Aiden Riley is back. He's looking for a big senior season. The Rough Riders lost some seniors from last year's team. They finished 4-8. They had a rough 5-game streak in the middle of the season. Toward the end of the season, they bounced back with a big win over Palmerton. at the end of the season, which got them a district berth, but then they ran into Schuylkill Haven. Schuylkill Haven just took them apart. Schuylkill Haven was the state runner-up in Class 2A, but they just took them apart after that. But let's see, Aiden Riley has to put this season together for the Roughies. He has the potential. He's got a good arm. Joe Henrik is excited about him, what he's seen so far with the 7-on-7s, what he's seen in the workouts. Like I said, there's some seniors there, but this might be a rough year for the Roughies. And we'll see what he does. The quarterback situation at Northampton apparently still up in the air. We'll see what happens. They lost Gavin Taff, who had a nice couple of years for them. New quarterbacks, some new pieces in place at Northampton as well. Let's see what the kids do this year. Again, they're into that Lehigh Valley division of the East Penn Conference, which is a tough one. And they lost some key people as well. Whitehall, keep an eye on Tanner Dogmantis. And I just did a piece for the Whitehall Press on the brothers. What a great set of brothers they had, the Dogmantis brothers, Trey, Talon, and now Tanner over at Whitehall the last 4, 5, 6 years. Eric Dogmantis has coached on Jeff Jones's basketball staff for 10 years. And Tanner Dogmantis, he's a guy to put it all together. He took over for his brother, Trey, who was up at Wilkes. And he again, stepping in as a sophomore, getting used to the lay of the land, took his lumps, had 24 touchdown passes last year, 7 interceptions. The Zephyrs struggled last year. Again, they had their ups and downs, but he's got some pieces in place. And like Riley over at Catasauqua, Tanner Dogmantis has to step up, and he's going to be the engine that's going to drive that Zephyr season this year. So keep an eye on him. Like I said, really came on last year for the Zephyrs, and he has a high ceiling, and we'll see what happens there. My friend Eric Snyder over at Catasauqua pointed this out to me, and it's no secret. There was a brawl at a Juneteenth tournament over at Cedar Beach, and Cedar Beach is apparently getting a more and more of a risky place to be to watch basketball. But brawl for no reason. The police were summoned. It got worse. It kind of moved across the lay of the land down there at Cedar Beach. There's no reason for this, There were, there was this stuff that's happened Friday and Saturday. I guess Saturday was the worst out of the two, where there were numerous police units summoned to the scene. But this is something that's uncalled for. You see these, if you do any internet surfing, you see these brawls showing up at tournaments, at games. Saw one for 10 and under. We got to curb this stuff. I mean, I think, unfortunately, it's a threat in our society today that's going on. Where everybody's level is sky high as far as just wanting to go after somebody. And we got to curb this. But the Cedar Beach, you find it on YouTube right now. We're talking on YouTube. It was a disgrace to see what happened there. It just got out of hand, and they had to cancel the games. And let's put an end to that, okay? Finally, in much heated debate, it's really caught a lot of media attention, is on WIP's morning show, the 10 o'clock show with Joe Giulio and Hugh Douglas, a big debate about Jalen Hurts. And I've written about Jalen Hurts and how I don't know what's going on, what the Eagles and all this. There's a lot of talk surrounding the Eagles about Jalen Hurts. Is Jalen Hurts the right guy to lead the Eagles? The guy led them to a Super Bowl MVP. He's got a tremendous record as a starter, but it was a highly contested debate. Got a little bit out of hand. Hugh Douglas got a little bit out of hand with his language, inappropriate language. It's worth a look. Maybe you did hear it when it did happen, but Jalen Hurts, let's see, let's give the guy a chance. He has done a great job with the Eagles, and he's got a new offensive coordinator this year who will probably put him under. But let's see what happens with Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. Final note here, and I saw this last night. There's a lot of talk about over the internet about Jazz Chisholm, who showed up in the infield when their game with the Tigers. It was a loss to the Tigers, and he shows up with a blow pop in his mouth. And Aaron Boone has taken a lot of criticism for allowing him to come onto the field looking like that. But these are the 2026 ball players today that we have, and that's a tough call. That's a manager's call. That's a tough call. It's not exactly a great look, but that's a manager's call. Okay. Thanks for joining. If you saw what you liked, we're going to be talking a lot more football as we get into this, getting in closer to the start of the official practices. Keep you updated on the Phillies, anything that's going on in the Lehigh Valley Press area, Times News area. Check out the Times News, tnonline.com. I got a baseball column coming out this week, and I think the Times News, one of the finer sports sections in Pennsylvania by far. They do a great job up there. Patrick Matsinko and Rod Heckman do a great job. Thanks again for joining. Have a great rest of your day, a great day in general. Give me a like, give me a subscription, and I'll talk to you soon, and take care of yourself.